Hey guys, this is Dustin, and today I wanted to talk about saving and loading our games. So, in my projects, I'm to the point where I need to start thinking about actually how to save progress, like the user's progress throughout the game. And that's got me basically going down this giant rabbit hole, and I kind of wanted to talk about what I learned. So, today in this episode, I'm going to discuss three different levels of saving and loading. Alright, so the first technique I want to show you is probably the most basic technique that you can, just to save like a very basic value. So, for example, in this project I'm working on, there's a variable called gold. Basically, the player, it keeps track of how much gold the player collects throughout the game. And when you go into these little battles, you can fight these other pirates, and you can collect their treasure. So you see in the top corner there, we have a score of 20 currently. That's how much gold we have. And I want to be able to save that value between runs. So if I restart the game, I want to be able to see that value right here again. Okay, so to make that work, I have this game scene object, and on this game scene, there's two methods called the save game and then load game. Load game gets called when the game loads, basically. And then save game gets called when I click the Y key. So I want to make it so that when I hit Y, it saves the amount of gold that the player has, and then when I reload the game, it reads back that amount of gold. So we're just going to do it really simply. The first thing I'm going to do is I actually need to get the variable that we're trying to save. So there's a little detail with this project. I'm using an entity component system, and the only thing you need to know about that is that there's an object out there that has the value that we want to save, the gold. So I'm going to get that value. So I'm going to say player gold is equal to this player, or actually self.player actor, and then we're going to get the player's component and then the value gold, just like this. So first I'm just going to print player gold to make sure that we got the right value. So if I start and I hit Y, player gold is 0. If I start a battle and blow someone up, probably can't see that very well, eh? And then if I blow something up and then collect their gold, you can see if I hit Y, we have that gold value printed there. So let's actually go ahead and save it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a local file handle. So I'm going to go io.open, and then the path, I'm just going to name it save values or something. And then we're going to open it up in write mode. So that means that the value is open so that we can write to it, or it's set up so that we can write to it. If we have the file available, then we're going to write to it. Otherwise, we want to print an error. Fail to load or fail to open save file. Now, depending on your game, you really want to make sure that your saving and loading is as robust as possible. Oftentimes, the user may open up the game in a protected directory, or it may be in a place where you can't actually open up the save files. There's a lot of different reasons why you may not be able to save. But I really recommend making whatever system, your saving and loading system, as making it as robust as possible. Thinking about every single edge case you possibly can, because you probably felt it yourself. It's incredibly frustrating to lose your save progress. And so in this video, I'm just going to keep it really basic, but I really recommend really evaluating your functions, maybe even just really testing every single use case you can think of, just to make sure that the people can keep their save states. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to write to the file. We're just going to write the player's gold to the file. This same technique can work for multiple different variables. What I recommend is writing a string and then separating each of your variables by either like a new line or some kind of character that you can split on. But anyway, we're just going to save and load one value. So first we're going to write to the file, and let's just see that this is working. So I'm going to start a battle, get some coins. Like so. All right, I got 20 coins. I hit Y, and that file should have saved. So let's see. Okay, so we got a value called save values, and if we open it, we see the value 20. Cool. So we got saving. So let's try loading the file. So that's over in the game scene. Okay. Loading a file. So what we're going to do is we're going to do basically the same thing. Create a file handle. We're going to open it up for reading mode. You can also do read bytes depending on like how your line endings, how they need to be handled and all that. But just read mode should be fine as well. Okay, so we're gonna say if we don't have a file, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call the save game function. So this is basically like if you have a brand new, a completely new save state, a completely new save profile. You may want to save the game if you can't actually find the save profile. So I'm just gonna do it like that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the contents of the file. So that's what this star A, that's just saying read all the characters in the file. All right, so once we have the contents, I want to get the player actor and actually update their score. So we're going to say player actors get player dot gold is equal to contents, and we're going to cast that to a number. And then don't forget to close your file handle. So we're going to do f.close. All right, so let's see if that worked. So when we start the game, I don't know if you guys saw that. When you start the game, it's set to 0, but when we actually press space, it actually loads. And as you can see, we have a score of 20 right now. So we are actually saving and loading our score. The next technique that I want to show you is something a little bit more robust. So it's something that you can use for like 90% of your games. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay guys, so for the second technique, what we're actually going to be doing is saving and reading an entire table. All right, so the reason why that is super nice is imagine you have a table, right? You can add whatever save values you want to that table. So for example, I would like to be able to save and restore the player's position in the world and all that. So what we can do is we can create a table that has the field maybe gold, and then player's position, and then literally any other value that we want. And then we can actually write that table to disk, and then later read that table back. Now this is all going to be done in plain text, so when we actually write the table, it's going to be in text mode. You may not want that, right? You may not want the player to be able to tweak all their variables and all that. In the next video, I want to talk about more how we can protect our save states if you actually wanted that level of protection. But for right now, we're just going to directly write a table to the file and then load it again. Okay, so to make this possible, we actually do need to use a library. Now you don't have to; you can write your own function, and I showed you that. I'll show you later that I actually did do this. But there's a library called pprint, which is pretty useful. You can find it over here at this URL, which I will paste in the description of the video. But what it is it's a pretty printer. It's a way to take a table and then print it to string, and it prints it in a form that you can actually later read back if you would like. Okay, so what we're gonna do, so when I have this pretty printer saved in this libraries folder, so I just downloaded the file, put it in there, and then now I'm including it. So I'm gonna define a little bit of a table that I want to save. So we're gonna name it game save or something like that. And here we're gonna say gold equals to 0. Let's say player position, and let's make this a little bit fancy. Let's make this a nested table. We're going to do something just like that. Okay, so we have the game save. Now in our save function, what I want to do is instead of just writing a basic string, we're going to create we're going to write the table to a string. So, I don't know, s table, sure. We're going to do pprint, and then there's a function called pformat. So there's two functions on this library, pprint. And what this would do is takes your table and directly prints it to standard out. So that will be your terminal. That will be wherever you're running the application. It will actually print the table. If you want the table to be turned into a string that you can later print or do whatever you want with, then you want pformat. And I found that the defaults work just fine, but there's a lot of different options. I'll let you guys as homework to go and explore the library and actually figure it out yourself. And I also want to mention that this library is not 100%. As in, you may create saves that may not be easily loaded. There's a few examples, like with escaping certain characters and stuff like that. So if you're going to use this, I recommend keeping your save table as simple as possible. Don't add a lot of meta tables because those will not be saved. Don't add just functions and methods onto that save table because those will not be saved. Aside from that, though, everything else is pretty good. So anyway, let's get the player's body, which is the component that actually holds the player's position. So we're going to do get body, and what we're going to do is we're going to say gamesave.gold is equal to player gold, and we're going to go gamesave.player position. Let's just do x is equal to body dot Actually, I need a little reminder on this body object. Okay, so it has a vector 2. So we can do, let me move this over a little bit. Actually, let's do this. And let's hide this. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do position.x and then position y. So we're just updating the game save object with the values that we want to save. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say the string version of the table is going to be equal to the formatted version of game scene. Now this isn't quite what we want. It's not quite in a form where we can actually later load the file. So for now, I'm just going to do stable, write that to a file. We're also going to print it just for our own sake. Anyway, so if I move the player over here, you can see that we're on this island thing. If I hit Y, it prints the table. So you can see that it's a table, has the gold value and the player's position. So that's not too bad. It's just not in a form that we can write to disk real easily and then read back. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make that a little bit better. So I'm going to do string.format. Actually, we don't need string.format. We're going to do return ... and then this value. All right, let's do this one more time. Save. Oop. Oh, okay. So the current issue that we have is our game isn't set up properly. So let's go and comment out this so that we don't crash. There we go. Okay, so if we run over here, hit Y, you can see that it prints the position, and now we see this return right here. So this is a Lua script, right? This is an actual Lua table. So what if we now go over here and we say .lua? Let's actually write it to a Lua file so that our editor can recognize it. So if we do this one more time, hit Y. Now over in our file system, there should be a save values.lua. And here it is. So now over in our save game where we actually load, what we can do is do something really simple. We can actually just do this. Like so. Now to actually make this work, let me remove the old save values file. That way it doesn't conflict. And then what I want to do is I'm going to do gamesave.gold is equal to savestate.gold. Actually, we can just use gamesave is equal to save state like this, right? Let's also pretty print this gamesave. So we can just actually pretty print it like this. Loaded game state. And then we're going to pretty print game save. And then now we actually want to update the variables on the player. So let's just copy these two lines like so. I'm going to return, let's see, how do I want to do this? Let's just do this. Gold is equal to gamesave.gold. That position is equal to gamesave.player position. We're just going to do something hacky like that. This isn't, probably not a great way to do it, but anyway, so let's write. So I just hit Y, and let's remember where we're at. So we're right next to this, this square far away from the island. And now if we load, okay guys, sorry for the cut. I made a little mistake. So this is just how the project's set up. So you'll notice when I run the game, things are working now, right? So there's this player entity, and then there's also this player ship entity. And the player is attached to the ship. And so what we really need to be saving is the player's ship's position. So if I look over here, I'm now saying, where's the save? Right here. I'm now getting the player's ship's actor's position and then writing that to disk. And then down over here, I'm now setting the player's ship actor's body's position. So anyway, that's just technicality on why, on the way that my application's set up. I probably should have chose a simpler application. But anyway, as you can see that we're actually saving the player's position and now loading it again, which is pretty cool. So if I can move over here and actually see if I can, let's just save it on this island. Click Y, restart, and then come back in. Now we're on this island. So that's pretty cool. This table can basically grow as big as you need. You can later on, like I was saying, I'll talk about more techniques, but you can base 64 encode this table and then read it back, and there's a lot of cool things that you can do. But yeah, for now, this is just super simple. This is probably what I would recommend for like 90% of your games. This is a pretty decent way to do save states. Anyway, like I said, there's actually three ways, and the last way is a little bit overboard, I'll admit, but allows you to do some pretty cool things that I'm really excited to explore more about, and so I want to show it off. So yeah. All right, guys, I'm back. So, what we were doing before is we were saving an entire table and then loading that back. Now, if we can do that, what is the logical conclusion of that? Well, to me, it was why not save the entire game state of the entire game and then load it back in? Now, there's not a ton of use cases for this because oftentimes you don't want to actually have your save states be the entire state of the game because there's just a lot of values and data that won't change. It doesn't need to change. It doesn't need to be saved. But there are some use cases. For instance, imagine you can save the entire game state and then load it back in as a hot loading system, right? So you can say write to disk, restart the application, load back in the game state, and now you're at the exact same place with the changed code running in the background. And so I've been playing around with that a little bit. I've been working on some hot loading. I've been working on hot loading and saving and a bunch of other different techniques that I'm going to be talking about in a future video. But for now, let me just show you what I have working. So this is still Love2d, even though this is a 3D project. I'll be going over 3D also eventually. But this is a 3D project where I'm actually building the game basically from within itself, minus the actual code and all that. So if I hit F1, this actually saves the game. And if I look over on the side here, this is where the game save is. Now, you'll notice a few things. There's a few issues with actually writing this entire game state to disk and then reading it back. For one, metatables. Not just metatables, but all methods. If you write to disk, you'll notice that this doesn't contain any methods, any functions or anything like that. So when you read it back, if you have a function that's attached to a table, that's just going to be nil. So you can't get that perfect one-to-one mapping. The trick, though, is, let me open up another repo real quick, Vault. So I have this little project called Vault. I'll leave a link in the description below. Vault is supposed to take the place of the printy printer plus just a whole lot of other stuff. It's basically, it's an entire, let me just open that read only. It's an entire object system in Lua for basically games. So the function that makes this really nice is this extension function. So this is all it is, and this isn't 100% built out because this doesn't handle actual recursive tables, right? So let's say a table contains another table, and then that other table contains a reference to the first table. That is a recursive structure. So this doesn't quite handle that yet. But what this does is it basically sets all the values of table A to all the values of table B, right? And the way I'm using this is when we're actually creating a new instance of a table, right? We're copying it, and then we're also extending all the values that you want. So you can override specific values. Like if we have a vector 2, when we create a new instance of that vector 2, we can override the x value. If that doesn't make any sense, I'm going to go into a way more in-depth video on this later. But essentially, all this work is so that we can have our save games actually load and save tables, or with functions and stuff on it. Because as long as your vault object exists in the world when you actually load, like as long as this cell, let me see if I can open this up. I didn't plan this out too much, by the way, so it's a little bit hacky. But this cell is it's a table and has these faces on it. And so when we actually load this table, it's going to call the new function, which means that if we have any if we have any functions here or any metatables or anything like that, not necessarily metatables, I have another function for that, but all of the actual methods on the table itself will be updated and handled. And what this means is that I can be here and I can hit the R key, or sorry, F2, reload, and I have the entire game state saved. I can also do things like if you notice the cursor is now in front, if I save, and then if I reload, the cursor is now, exactly where I left it. And then I can keep, you know, adding on to the world and kind of build the world from within itself, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah. So if you guys are interested in more details on Vault and basically the way I'm writing and saving and loading values, let me know in the comments below. I'll do a little bit more of a in-detailed discussion on it and all that. In the meantime, you can always find it on GitHub. Let me pull that up real quick. I'll leave a link in the description. And you can see it here. Again, like I said, this is a very in progress library. I'm building it out as I need new features. I'm adding them to the library. I got a lot of things planned for it, but yeah. In the meantime, I think it's pretty usable. Though in the meantime, though, or until it becomes like version 1, until I actually write a ton of tests to validate this, I wouldn't use this for any of your projects. I would actually stick with pprint and use this for a lot of your tables that you need to write and restore. Anyway, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. I'm going to come out with some more videos on the subject, you know, just really cover it, because I don't see a lot of other YouTubers making videos on saving and loading and actually making robust saving and loading systems and stuff like that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.